Okay, I call this meeting of the Duncanville Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of Board of Trustees is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. We will now go into a very quick closed session, and we'll be right back. Show that a quorum of Board of Trustees is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. If you'll stand, we'll have the invocation given by Joe Veracruz.
All right, let us pray. Heavenly Father, once again, we thank you for another day, Lord, another day to just come before you and just be humble. As we move forward tonight, Lord, I always thank you for our superintendent, our school board, our senior leadership team, all our principals, and everyone involved with our children. Lord, these servant leaders are just awesome, and we thank you that the Holy Spirit leads us. As always, Lord, we ask that you make us great stewards of all the resources you give us, and give us clear minds and clear hearts to make the decisions we need to make tonight. In your mighty name I pray, amen. Amen.
And Smith will give our Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll come forward. Good job. Thank you very much. I want to come and shake her hand. Good job.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. We'd like to thank you for the opportunity to lead the pledge this evening. I'd like for you to know that you are shaking the hands of our Smith Elementary Student Council. We have Liliana Syrick, Jalen Pedrosa, Jemiah Brown, David Contreras, Aaliyah Sims, Sarah Munoz, London Hunt, and Christopher Alves Anderson, who couldn't be with us tonight. Thank you.
I will now turn the meeting over to Dr. Smith for the superintendent's report.
Well, thank you, Madam President. Good evening, those that are in attendance and board members. I have the following items that I want to provide you with in terms of an update here. Superintendent's report. The first item that I have for you is just an update on our Texas Parent-Teacher Association report. As you know, PTAs do an outstanding job of connecting with our families and our schools. And each year, the PTA Association, they recognize school districts that have met what they call the good standing status. The criteria to earn the good standing status is to submit membership rosters. They also require a number of documents such as bylaws and standing rules. And also they look to verify that you've completed the IRS Form 990. And then also the membership growth is associated with the criteria to earn the good standing status. And so as you see here, Duncanville High School increased their membership by 48 members. In 2017-18, they had 113 members. 2018-19, 161 members. And Brandenburg increased their membership by 75 members. 60 members in 2017 and 135 in 2018-19. Also, just to note, Acton Elementary increased their enrollment from 67 members to 75 members. They just fell shy of getting the good standing recognition, but still I wanted to give you an update on them. And so, that's a credit to our families, their willingness to be engaged with our schools, and the effort of the PTA officers that are out there in the fields and the trenches, getting our parents to come to the schools and the meetings. And so I wanted to share that with you. We're very proud of those numbers and still have work to do in our other campuses, but these campuses are blazing the trail and leading the way for us. The next item that I have is an update on our national CTE, which is Career Technology Education. And so most of us are familiar with the Sports National Signing Day. We all are familiar with that. It happens in February for football, and I'm not sure when it happens in basketball. Coach, you probably know that in your sleep. But we're all familiar with the National Signing Day for our athletes, where they gather to sign their athletic scholarships, et cetera. In Duncanville, we also acknowledge and have Academic Signing Day for those students that are committing to go to college for academics. And so just recently here at Cedar Valley, we had 50 students to sign letters of intent to continue their college and career aspirations at Cedar Valley. These students will be majoring in various career clusters, including automotive, diesel, business, criminal justice, graphic design, and veterinary medicine. And so these students will obtain certifications and credentials that will allow them to earn a living when they graduate high school. And also these hours can transfer if they choose to go to a traditional college or university. So we're really proud of their efforts and wanted to give them some recognition for their commitment to college and to their future. Thank you. Sure, absolutely. Also, Skills USA is a national organization that provides students with personal skills, training, workplace skills, and technical skills, while at the same time focusing on building confidence and grit in students. And so the focus is really to help students to become job ready. We had a number of students, many of you see there, participate in the most recent competition. We had 105 high school students and 21 middle school students advance to the state competition for Skills USA, and that'll be held in April in Corpus Christi. And so we're really excited about the work that those young students are doing there. I also wanted to update you on the science fair. We had a science fair recently. I know some of you had an opportunity to attend that, but the 2019 District Science Fair Extravaganza was a collaborative effort that enlisted the community, our schools, and families to challenge and celebrate student achievement in science. And so this event brought together over 645 students, parents, and faculty and community members to experience the world of science through the various work of our students. Each year, our science department partners with a variety of vendors in the field of science to raise awareness and promote interest in science. And in those learning experiences, there were over 250 projects displayed. And so our students really did a good job representing, and our partners and our parents also did an excellent job representing at the science fair. So we had a great turnout. This year, board, as you know, we addressed the aging bus fleet, and so the board graciously allowed us to purchase 10 school buses. And so I just wanted to report to you, board, that those buses are indeed here in fleet. They're en route. And so they have arrived on our facilities, and so we're working now to add the cameras and the EduTracker, which is really just the software system that is used to track the movement of the buses. And so we're working to finalize all of those features, and so those buses will be hitting the regular routes in the very near future. But obviously bus drivers are excited about that and wanted you to know where we were with the buses. On February 8th, we held a district-wide professional development day I wanted to share with you, board, some highlights from that session. We had a conference-style setup for professional development. The sessions were based on the professional growth goals for our staff, and the focus was to provide as many options and choices as possible for all of our teachers. And so we offered over 100 courses that range from classroom management to more content-specific courses like teaching writing strategies to fourth grade students. And so we also provided food trucks for our staff so that we could keep everybody there so they wouldn't leave and go for lunch. We wanted to make sure that they came back, number one. But that it was a time for us to just have some good camaraderie and team building together there on during lunch. And so our teachers really demonstrated a lot of commitment and focus, and our professional development team did an outstanding job of preparing the activities for the day. We also wanted to get some feedback. Part of our process is to get feedback from our staff, and I just have highlighted for you some comments that we had. First one there is thanking us for bringing people in who have passion to educate the paras. We even had a strand for paras. And this person says, in 20 years, this is hands down the best or my favorite staff development. The second comment there, I'm excited about the new ELA, that's the English Language Arts Standards. The facilitator was very knowledgeable, shared great resources. This was an amazing day. Thank you, Duncanville ISD. Love having hands-on make and take activities to use in my classroom. This was a very much needed session. The presenters were great. And the workshop was very informational. There were numerous activities shared to enhance instruction. And then lastly, great speaker, learned a lot. So just wanted to give you a sense of some of the feedback that we received from our staff as a result of our professional development training. And then lastly, today, just to report on tomorrow, we have a pretty important basketball game. Our boys are in the regional quarterfinals. We play DeSoto at Wilkerson Athletic Center tomorrow in Fort Worth. And so we want to join all of our Duncanville fans and community in supporting our boys' basketball team. And so, Madam President, that concludes the superintendent's report. And then I have just one item that is going to be reported by someone else. And so at this time, I'm going to call Dina McFerrin up. She's the Executive Director for Education Foundation. And so as part of the superintendent's report, she's going to give the update and report from the Education Foundation. Ms. McFerrin.
Hi, y'all. Hi, Dina. Thank you all for your volunteering your time and your service to our community. I appreciate it. This is my hometown. I'm a graduate from Duncanville. It's been a minute, but actually this year's 30 years. I graduated in '89, and I'm still proud to be a Duncanville Panther. Love all these kids here. It's fantastic. As the new director for the Education Foundation, a great milestone that we hit just this past year is we have funded over $1 million in innovative teaching grants to Duncanville ISD teachers since 1996. I'm pretty proud of that, and we want to continue that and make it bigger and better. We've extended our deadline for grant applications to March 18th, so if y'all want to share that, any teachers want to submit grants, please do that. We would love your support. We appreciate all the support you've already given us. We have some events coming up. They'll be on our website, DuncanvilleEducationFoundation.org. Please check us out. I'm very happy to be part of the foundation and the city of Duncanville. Thanks for everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dina, and thank you, Dr. Smith. I now introduce Tia Richard with recognitions.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. We are here today to celebrate our Made with Pride in Duncanville honorees. This is the the student, teacher, and staff each month who goes above and beyond and really celebrates what it means to be proud and to be a member of the Duncanville ISD family. So I will start off with a couple of guys who work in transportation, Don Gadberry and David Searle. Come on up, gentlemen. Just join me right here. So Don and David are our Made with Pride in Duncanville Staff of the Month. They were both nominated by Hyman Elementary School Counselor Deborah Thibodeau. She was basically in a warehouse vehicle last month and had driven to a church in Irving to pick up donations for her school. She noticed that there was a tire that was really low, so she called transportation just to basically ask, should she drive on it to try to head back? They told her immediately, just stay where you are, sit tight, and they went into action. Ms. Thibodeau directly said that Don and David battled traffic to Irving at 5:30 p.m. after already putting in a 12-hour day. They changed the tire quickly and then drove them back to their school because it was dark and the traffic was heavy. So they felt secure and safe and cared for above and beyond what most would expect. She described these two gentlemen as professional, personable and kind, efficient and knowledgeable, and just ultimately safety was their top concern. And the same care they showed for Ms. Thibodeau and our Hyman staff is the same care they show for our kids, knowing that they're riding the buses each and every day. And so we're truly proud to recognize you as our Made with Pride in Duncanville Staff of the Month. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was really good, really good. Good job. Thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you for all you do. Appreciate it.
Hold right there. All right, so to keep our recognitions going, next we have, thank you, sir, our Made with Pride in Duncanville Teacher of the Month, Miss Jessica Shogreen. So Jessica is a teacher at Acton Elementary School, and she was nominated by her principal, Ms. Bowens, and the campus secretary, Ms. Edwards. Ms. Shogreen is described as the epitome of a dedicated teacher and team member. Her car is the first one to arrive each morning and the last one to leave on a daily basis. She has a true servant heart and is on a mission to do her best by those she serves. She is on multiple committees, fundraisers, and spends her own downtime decorating the campus. She doesn't have much downtime, I don't believe. But if you check out the window paints in the office, that's her work also. Ms. Shogreen is also well respected amongst her peers. She's a former Campus Teacher of the Year, and that's a title that is presented by fellow teachers at the campus level. If a student is transitioning to the second grade, it may be seen as challenging. She specifically requests that student in her class and works overtime to learn the best ways to reach him or her. So we are proud to recognize Ms. Shogreen as our Made with Pride in Duncanville Teacher of the Month. All right, our last Made with Pride honoree is our Student of the Month, Mr. Wyatt King. All right, so Mr. King is a student at Reed Middle School. He's an 8th grader there, and he was nominated by his principal, Mr. Brian Bird. So Wyatt wants to be a mechanic, I'm gonna work on my speeching. Would like to be a mechanical engineer and plans to attend MIT. He is taking all pre-AP courses. He's in the boys choir, chess club, and he's a sharp dresser. He's also an active golfer as a member of the North Texas Junior PGA, First Tee of Greater Dallas, and Cedar Crest Junior Golf Club. In his personal time, he's also a great volunteer. He has collected more than 1,200 pairs of shoes for children in need through his shoe drive, which he calls Wyatt's Big Give. What some of you may recognize if you've been in the district long enough, Made with Pride started back a few years ago, at least 5 years ago, and Wyatt was our first Made with Pride in Duncanville honoree when we only recognized students. And so as an elementary student, he was recognized, and it's great to see him continuing that effort of giving and giving of himself for others. And so we were proud to recognize him again as Made with Pride in Duncanville, our Student of the Month, Mr. Wyatt King. And so now, as our board president takes a photo with our Made with Pride honorees, we have a video that the communications department has put together to really celebrate and showcase how wonderful and impressive our honorees are today.
Duncanville ISD congratulates the following student, staff member, and teacher who are made with pride in Duncanville.
When I started here, I was doing tires, and I made sure that every bus, it was safe because my kids broke the bus. And I still carry that right today.
Every service call we get, we answer, regardless of where it is, what day it is, what time it is. That's just what we do. And that's what I strive to do every day, is just make a difference.
I have 2 offices. In here when I'm taking and ordering parts. Out there is where the work's done.
Yes.
Be it one way or another, the work is going to get done and pick our babies up. And this is every day.
To help people, I think you just have to have a goal and to complete and have motivation. Like someone pushing you, and you can't be selfish about it. The reason why I started giving away shoes to people in Jamaica, hopefully all over the world, but because I saw the people, they didn't have any shoes, and I had plenty of shoes, but they don't even have one pair. So I asked my mom, should we start a shoe drive to get shoes for them? And then ever since then we started collecting shoes. This is gonna be my 6th year.
I think what makes a great teacher is just the willingness to go that extra mile for those kids, to see them for not just who they are, but what they're capable of, whatever background they come from, whatever needs they have. I kind of like to meet with them, find out what's going on, and pull out of them what they're capable of. I tell people, how many kids do you have? About 25, depends on the year. So I think that kind of shows that there's a true care there. I don't think I'm, necessarily special. I do love what I do.
These honorees truly are made with pride in Duncanville.
And behind each of these honorees are family and friends and employees and staff who all support them also. So for all of our honorees, if you have family here, co-workers, would those folks please stand so we can recognize them also? All right, we have a lot to celebrate today, so we will continue with our All-State Band honorees. Duncanville High School's band is celebrating 4 musicians who qualify for All-State. As I read your names, please join me in the front. Up first, we have Michael Manns on bassoon. Sorry, you guys are out of order. There you go. Up next, we have Frankie Rubio. Frankie plays the French horn. And he is also the top English French horn, sorry, it's not the French horn. He plays the English horn. I am not a band person. He plays the English horn, and Frankie is also the top English horn in the state of Texas. We also have Mr. Jaime Salas. Jaime plays trombone. And the last honoree could not make it here. He's actually on his college visit down to Texas A&M, and is on his way back, but just couldn't quite get here in time. Mr. Nate Trujillo, who plays alto sax. Wanted to stress that these are students who, because they qualify for All-State, they travel to San Antonio and join top musicians all across the state. While there, they participated in clinics and rehearsals and performed with their respective bands or orchestras. So Michael and Frankie performed with the orchestra, and Jaime and Nate both performed with the band. And these students were selected out of more than 70,000 high school students across the state who auditioned at the regional level. So this is a really high honor to be able to make it this far. And it tells you the excellence that we have, and we know that we have in our fine arts, but in particular with our band and the celebration of what they bring to these individual students. So we wanted to recognize and celebrate again our All-State Band honorees standing before you. As they prepare to take a picture with our board president, I wanted to make sure that I also took the time to ask our band director and any other leaders in the band to please stand if they're here in the room, because it doesn't happen by chance that these students are this great and they excel the way they do. They're leaders that have built traditions over time that really help us get there. So thank you. I said we had a lot to celebrate today, right? So now let me welcome up our All-State Choir. So Duncanville High School's choral department is this year sent the largest number of vocalists it has ever sent to the Texas Music Educators Association, the TMEA Clinic and Convention in San Antonio. All 6 choir students who auditioned in area competition in January advanced to state. Let me say that again. All 6 students who auditioned advanced to state. Please join me in the front as I call your names, students. First, Mr. Paul Beatty. Aiden Benson. Nicholas Jones. Matthew Merritt. Ryan Smith. And last but not least, Miss Evelyn Ontiveros. I feel really short. So the amazing thing about these choir students is not only their talent and their skill, but what they bring to the table whenever they perform. They really give you chills. If you've ever seen these students perform, it's amazing watching the way that they move people through music. Basically, I wanted to tell you that by qualifying, only the highest ranking musicians who were judged at the area competitions qualify to perform of the 15 Texas All-State bands, choirs, and orchestras. And so these were the students that were selected from Duncanville, and they represented us well. But we're very, very proud of all of your hard work and what you did. So again, celebrating our All-State choir students who have really represented Duncanville amazingly. Thank you. And while we are celebrating these all-state choirs, I also want to make sure that I'm not remiss in recognizing the teachers, the sponsors who travel with them, who make sure they get where they're going, who really celebrate them, help them grow. I would like to ask our directors to both please stand. Both of our directors.
Ms. Richard, may I ask, are any of these guys, are what I call our national anthem guys? Raise your hand if you're one of our, I call them national anthem guys.
All four of them.
Way to go. I love it, love it, love it. Trying to get y'all to sing a national anthem at a Ranger game.
We're working on it, I promise you. We're working on it. And Mr. Cannon and the directors or the sponsors have also been doing the same, but you're going to see them. And last but not least, I'd like to ask all of our football players and coaches who are in the room to please join us for our Panther football players. Coach Samples, you good? Come on in, join me in. All right, I feel really short now. All right, so for the first time in 20 years, these Panther football players, and they're representing their entire team, of course, returned to the state championship game following a perfect season. The Panthers finished, let's applaud that for, again, a perfect season. The Panthers finished with a 15-1 record. We don't talk about the one. The first 15-win season in school history. Again, so many accomplishments and achievements in this season. We have players that were all-state football team, all academic. The amazing level and the dynamic nature of these scholar athletes is represented on multiple platforms, whether it's on the field, in the classroom, how they've carried themselves. We've really been impressed with who these students are and how they have really represented Duncanville so well. This field play was amazing. We were proud to watch them, again, dynamic players, but the most important thing that I think many of us took away from who you are and how you carry yourself came from what you learned from your coach. It came with the fact that you were leaders on and off the field, that you were proud, that you were respectful, that you were kind. You embodied the spirit that your coaches and your teammates put forth in this community. You showed people at every opportunity what it really means to be Panther proud, and so we are so, so very proud of you. So we want to honor you with one quick sort of demonstration from, oh, here it's coming down the aisle. We have something for Coach Samples that we'd like to give him real quick. You're going to turn around and show the audience and then show the board. So, very cool. So this is an acrylic plaque that Coach Samples will be able to place in his office space. We'll get maintenance to help hang that for you. All right. But in addition to these players and everything they accomplished, Coach Samples was one of 32 nominees for the 2018 Don Shula NFL High School Coach of the Year Award, and he was also the Dallas Morning News Coach of the Year for 2018 for football. Again, these are honors that don't come lightly. They come from a lot of hard work and sweat with all of these players that we never see and we don't realize happens, but Coach, you and your team really push them, and they accept and respond really, really well. So I know that I have board members here who probably would love to say something to you guys that you're standing before them and taking advantage of this opportunity.
I would, if you don't mind, and I stole this from last night, but it's not always about the win. It's about not giving up, and y'all did that. Thank you.
Any other board members have some comments to share?
You guys brought the pride, brought the community together. The buzz that we used to have, you brought it back. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Coach Samuels and you guys for the great season you had. And I think I was probably at every game you played with the exception of one when I was out of the state. But I enjoyed every one of them, even though a lot of them were just bloodbaths, and I know y'all enjoyed that a whole lot too. But Dr. Smith and I attended most of your games in the rain and enjoyed them. Of course, we were in the press box, so we weren't getting wet like you, but they're still great, and beat not Allen, but
South Lake?
South Lake. They had that Duncan Who sign. I don't know if y'all saw that or not. But after the game, they weren't saying Duncan Who, and I just love that because we beat them really bad. So that was great. So thank y'all for a great season, and I'm already looking forward to next year and can't wait to be able to get back and watch you play.
Anybody else on this?
I would like to say one of my big things in my life is legacy, and Coach Samples, I'm really proud of what you've taught these young men. You guys can take that forward with you. Congratulations.
And you make it real. We are the city of champions, and you just keep proving it. How many of you will be returning next year? Woohoo! Okay. That works.
So Coach Samples and all of our student athletes, I echo the sentiments of our board members. We certainly appreciate all the hard work, dedication that you showed throughout the course of the season, but also the way you did it. It's one thing to win, but when you win with class and dignity and professionalism, that takes a lot of character. And so we are really proud of all that you've done and looking forward to the future, and your bright futures. We'll be following you all through next year, and then as you carry on the Duncanville legacy even beyond that. So thank you for everything you do. And leadership matters. And so, Coach Samples, we thank you for your leadership as setting the tone for our young men.
And now we'll ask the board if you wouldn't mind coming down for a group photo with the team and Coach Samples right here in front. I'll move this out the way. Put this over here, out the way. We won't now because you guys are shaking hands. And next, we want to keep the celebration going one more time for these athletes and Coach Samples. We wanted to also welcome up the city because they have a special recognition and a resolution they'd like to read for you. Mayor Gordon?
Good evening. It is a privilege for us, the City Council of the City of Duncanville, to join in celebrating this great season, this great team that we have in our City of Champions. Tonight, many, many champions have been recognized, and we conclude with recognizing a team that this entire city, this entire state knows that it has stood up and it's done its job, for a job well done. We thank you all. Be proud. We are proud of you. And in recognition of this, we have a proclamation we would like to read, and it's Coach Samples is suitable for framing. fact, I'll give it to Coach, and I'll read along with you here. Whereas the 2018 Duncanville High School Panther football team returned to the state championship game for the first time in 20 years, following a perfect season. The Panthers finished with a 15-1 record, the first 15-win season in school history. And whereas the championship team members include 34 seniors, 19 juniors, 6 sophomores, and 2 freshmen. And whereas during the team's outstanding performance, the team had the #1 defense in the state and held opponents to an average 4.5 points per game. And whereas the team was led to victory by Coach Reginald Samples and his staff, including 20 assistant coaches, 5 game assistants, and 3 athletic trainers. And whereas the team not only had an amazing winning season, many of the team members received individual recognitions, including Coach Samples named as the 2018 Football Coach of the Year by the Dallas Morning News. Junior running back Tristan Smith named Newcomer of the Year. Quarterback Jaquindon Jackson named by the Dallas Morning News as, quote, one of the area's most explosive dual-threat athletes, close quote. Jackson passed for 1,580 yards and 15 touchdowns, rushed for 1,497 yards and 23 scores. Senior defensive lineman DeBraylon Carroll was named District 8-6A Defensive MVP, and junior defensive back Chris Thompson Jr. was chosen as first-team junior All-American by MaxPreps.com with 72 tackles on the team. Therefore, I, Barry Gordon, Mayor of the City of Duncanville, Texas, do hereby call upon all citizens to join me in recognizing the accomplishments of the Duncanville High School Panther football team and express our pride and appreciation for the exemplary manner in which they represent themselves, our city, and the Duncanville ISD. And the City Council of the City of Duncanville has something special for y'all. I call forward our City Council members. Unfortunately, 2 of our City Council members are unable to attend tonight, from District 1, Dennis Schwartz, and from District 3, Leslie Thomas. But from District 2, City Council member Don McBurnett. From District 4, City Council member Mark Cooks. From District 5, City Council member Johnette Jameson, and Council member at large Patrick LeBlanc. We have signed footballs here from all the members of the City Council. We'd like to present these individually to those on the team that Coach Samples is asking us to do. That's on behalf of the Mayor of Duncanville, and this is on behalf of District 1 Council member Dennis Schwartz.
DeBraylon Carroll. James Mitchell. Tristan Smith.
For District 3.
Jaquindon lost the coin flip, so he didn't get the ball. Anthony Cruz. Chris Thompson. And Stacy Bryant.
Thank you for allowing us to participate tonight. Madam President, Board of Trustees, Superintendent, it's been an honor and privilege for us to be a part of our great city with you tonight.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, City Council, for coming to the meeting and recognizing our students. A and B, A and B. F and G. Okay. So you make that A. A. D. Okay. No, we're both. Okay, we will now move to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion? Yeah, just A, B.
Madam President, I move that we move to the consent agenda items A, B, D, F, and G.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second to move items 4A, B, D, F, and G to the consent agenda. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes 7-0. Do I have a motion to approve this consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes 7-0. We now move to item, action item 4C. Presenter Melissa Cates.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, and Dr. Smith. Tonight we have before you a motion, an action item to approve replacement of our stadium field at Panther Stadium. And then in addition, we have a motion to install turf at our softball and baseball fields and the two fields that are across the street from Kathy Self-Morgan Way. They're just current practice fields. So as you'll see in the information in front of you, we are proposing that we move forward with Hellas Construction. Hellas originally put in our turf at Panther Stadium. And so what we're asking is to first just replace the turf, which will not, we already have the foundation and everything needed at the stadium. And then the Hellas will come in, they'll first do that, the replacement of the stadium, turf over the summer. That will be in June, the June timeframe. And then after that, we will begin the softball and baseball fields starting in September. And then in the next spring, they will move to start working on replacement of the fields and put turf in at the two fields across the street. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions of Ms. Cates or of Dr. Smith regarding this item?
They will, when they do softball, because they don't have already have the base, they'll survey, they'll take care of any drainage issues and all that. Tell us, is that what they do?
Yes, that would be a part of the project to do the survey work to make sure the soil is appropriate and all the engineering associated with that, and Hellas would be responsible for doing that work.
I just want to know if, when this is all done, the work is done and completed with all of them, will Hellas be available to come back and repair the fields or whatever, if stuff gets messed up? Are they available for that?
Yes, in my past experience with them, they have been available, and that's part of the agreement that they would have to come back and repair any unforeseen issues or damages that we might experience.
Can part of the timeline be adjusted?
Yes,
Can
it's
we
it's
go-
very
okay.
flexible and fluid, and so, the next steps, or after tonight, will really dictate the next steps and any adjustments that we have to make in the schedule that you see before you.
And coaches of all fields will be involved in the planning stage of all of this. So what we have right here isn't necessarily how it's all going to look.
Absolutely.
Because the coaches will be involved.
As well as the band.
Yes, thank you for asking that question. So yes, what you have, Board, is a rendering
A rendering.
so that you can kind of have a perspective of what we're wanting to do. After tonight, you approve to pass this agenda item. The next series of steps for me would then be to work with Hellas, call each of the coaches in, sit them around at the table so that they have input on the design features associated with the fields.
Any other questions? No.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, please do.
I move to approve the contract with Hellas for the turf fields at
Hold on.
Duncanville High School.
I had one question.
Oh, we're not answering your question.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Joe.
Thank you. What are our options to pay for this?
So thank you, good question there. So we have a range of options right now. Just as a reminder, our fund balance, we're about 5.5 months of operating funds, which is 2.5 months above what the recommended amount is. And so that is one option for us. We're pretty healthy there. Very conservatively, we have about $9 million additional revenue coming in from the TRE that was passed earlier this school year. And then there are some other interest dollars that we have been able to accumulate in the bond program. And so it gives us a lot of options and good opportunities to be able to fund this project and do so in a way that minimizes any large impact, because we can divide it between this year's budget and then next year's budget.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, do we need to put this in there? Do we need to say a figure?
We don't.
Okay.
Okay, Phil, you want to finish your motion?
Yes, Joe. Consider the approval of, move to approve the contract with Hellas for the turf fields at Duncanville High School. Fields would include the replacement of pad at Panthers Stadium, the installation of turf fields on 2 practice fields and the softball field and the baseball field. The board further authorizes the superintendent to finalize the contract with Hellas Construction and to execute the contract on behalf of the district.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Phil McNeely and a second by Tom Kennedy. Are there any more questions, discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Yeah, I missed it, sorry. We will now move to action agenda E, academic calendar for 2019-2020 school year, presented by Tiara Richard.
Good evening again, Board of Trustees, Dr. Smith, Madam President. So I come before you to share the results of the survey for our district academic calendar that was presented. But I wanted to give you a little bit of background on the process so that you understand the steps that were taken to achieve those 2 drafts and then the results from that survey.
Tiara,
Yes, sir?
before you get started, I forgot I had in my folder for the board, I have a hard copy of Tiara's presentation that she's giving, so just in case you wanted to kind of follow along through the hard copy.
We are going to have school next year?
Yes, sir.
Sorry for interrupting, but I had to just remember that I had the hard copy for the board.
No problem, sir. So for the district calendar, every year, we pull together a committee of teachers, students, parents, to come together and make sure that we can discuss the priorities for that calendar. So recognizing that the academic calendar is primarily the student calendar, but we know that calendar drives every other calendar that we have in the district, from teachers to our transportation staff to nutrition services workers. So we want to make sure that that calendar is that foundation that leads to what comes next. So the calendar planning committee had 4 main points that they really discussed thoroughly once we got down to the main details of what we wanted to achieve. So the first thing was trying to have more consistency. Over the last few years, we've had some changes in our calendar, from becoming a district of innovation, from changing from days to minutes as based by the state's change in there. So the consistency hasn't been there, but hopefully through this next year moving forward, there'll be a level of consistency across the board about how the calendar looks. The one thing that we achieved this past year was getting equal semester length. So there's not, for example, a really short fall semester and a long spring semester. So trying to achieve those equal semester lengths and trying to maintain that, again, part of that consistency that's discussed. One thing that came up in terms of questioning why the calendar was looking the way it was on the tail end is because of the state testing dates. With District of Innovation, we have the ability to impact when we start. And so we have a lot of freedom with that by becoming a district of innovation. We can start earlier or later. There's, again, freedom within the district to make that choice. However, the state testing dates at the end of the school year do impact when we can end. And so we have some flexibility, but not as much as we may have liked. This year, the state testing dates were pushed back 1 more week. And so it's right up until the last week in May. And so whenever you're trying to get teachers out earlier, we got to recognize the importance and the value of making sure that our students have what they need, that they're prepared for these tests if any of them need to take the alternative or retesting. We want them to have what they need and be thinking there and not thinking about school ending. And so maintaining that focus. So that did impact when we ended the school year with these calendar options. And then 4th, spring break. Tarrant County and Dallas County colleges had separate spring breaks. Normally that's aligned. But this is one year where Tarrant County colleges, their spring breaks are a little bit earlier, and then Dallas County colleges, the spring breaks are a little bit later. And so that alignment is a challenge for all of the districts across the Metroplex, the school districts, because we have students who attend and take dual credit courses. We have collegiate academies, our collegiate academy students, and those who are moving forward who need to be aligned with those college courses so that they can plan and work accordingly. And so for that reason, these 2 calendar options that were presented publicly are aligned with our Dallas County College spring break week, as opposed to anything else in the area. So we needed to make sure that we were in that area. So these were some of the main discussions that were part of the calendar planning process. So 2 calendar drafts were presented and developed based on the feedback from the calendar planning committee. Calendar A has students starting midweek, which is one thing that was recommended by a lot of teachers and staff. So there's a Wednesday start, and then students would get out of school Thursday, May 28th. That is after Memorial Day by a few days, and I know that's one of the goals and things that teachers love with the new District of Innovation calendars is the options to get out before Memorial Day. However, as I mentioned, with the testing, state testing, that was not possible with either of our calendar options. The first semester is 83 days, second semester is about 90 days, so that's still a fairly even balance. This one has 173 student days. State requires us to have at least 170, and that's based on the number of minutes that our students attend school each day. That equates to 170 days for us. And so this is calendar A. Calendar B, the biggest variance between these 2 calendars are the start and the end. There are a couple of days in the middle that are also slightly different, but the start and the end are the 2 different changes. So for this start date, it's on a Monday as opposed to a Wednesday. So there's a full week of school that first week of school instead of the shortened week. But it does end 1 day earlier in May, so as opposed to Thursday after Memorial Day, it's Wednesday after Memorial Day. The semester days are fairly close, 80 and 90, but the student days, as you'll see, are exactly 170. So if there are any changes that happen throughout the year where students can't attend school or we can't make school, we only have those 2 bad weather days in April, the 2 red squares. So we have 2 days that are covered for students with those bad weather days, as long as they happen before those bad weather days occur. But if there's a third day anywhere in the year, we'll have to apply to the state for a waiver. So there's less flexibility in this calendar ultimately with that option. But again, these are the 2 options that were presented. These are the 2 options that our community voted on. And again, community was divided up into student, staff, and parents. And if you look at the numbers, we have the yellow here represents our employees in the district. So that could be teachers, custodial, anyone who is an employee in the district. The red represents people who self-identified as parents. And the blue are people who self-identified as students. With this calendar option in the survey, the way it was out for right at 2 weeks, technology did a wonderful job of supporting us and making sure that we had a clear voting where there's 1 vote per email. So in other words, if I use my personal email and voted as a parent, then my personal email would only be counted once. If I voted a second time, my second vote would be the only vote that was counted. If I voted a third time, only my third vote was counted. So the first 2 votes would be null and void. And so the way the data was set up, I was able to see how many multi-vote counts we had. And we didn't have a tremendous number, but we did have some. So those votes were not counted. So it's equal across the board for employees, teachers, students, and how everyone was able to vote. In total, we had 1,248 votes that were submitted over that 2-week time period. And again, those more than 1,200 votes are the ones that were counted, not the multiple votes. And ultimately, calendar B was preferred by the community by 262 total votes. And it was preferred in each individual self-identified category. Any questions on the calendar process? Yes.
How many people are on the planning committee? I know it's made up of parents, teachers, community.
I'll have to think back, but it's probably about approximately 40 people.
40, and how are they chosen? Are they appointed?
They're offered the opportunity. Some of them are professional council teachers. We also have directors and principals who are given the opportunity to attend and provide feedback and input, in addition to directors who may be in auxiliary services, because the calendar ultimately impacts them too. So we want that feedback early on. So it's about 40 people, and it fluctuates a little bit between the multiple meetings. Some people come to the first one and not the others, but it's about 40 people in total.
About how many parents?
This year, I think we had about 5 parents, and then probably about, I think 3 or 4 students. Mostly the parents brought their students.
I can kind of see why parents would like A and teachers would like B, having been a teacher and a parent.
On the committee, actually on the committee, parents preferred B, and teachers preferred A, based on what we're hearing from the committee. Primarily because for teachers, that short start to the school year is an advantage because you don't have kids in the classroom for that full week.
Okay, then I don't understand the colors. I mean, it looks like employees, which it's not always teachers, had the 341.
And again, this is just based on the committee. The committee preferred calendar A.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the committee. But I will say this, and it's primarily because of that start was the one thing. They liked the idea of starting the school year and having a shorter time. But based on this, B was the favorite across the board for all categories based on the survey. Not the committee, but the survey.
Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions?
Are there any other questions?
Well, I'd like, sorry.
Is the board clear that we are asking, we're making a recommendation and asking for a vote today? Okay.
I was just about to ask.
Are there any other questions? Yeah. And he just made. We're mulling.
I understand. And one thing we made very clear in the process is that although this survey provides feedback, it's just one form of information, that's brought to the board, and ultimately the decision-making authority is you in this instance.
So what's your recommendation?
I'd follow my boss's recommendation.
There's not another answer from you, right?
There goes your raise.
Yes, sir.
Do I have a motion?
Madam President, I move that we vote for calendar B.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Tom Kennedy, seconded by Phil McNeely. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes 7-0. We now move to information agenda item A, strategic goal number 3, focus on operational excellence, presented by Andrea Fields and Shantae Cowan.
Good evening, Madam President, board members, and Dr. Smith. This evening it is my pleasure, along with my colleague and teammate, Shantae Cowan, to present an update on Goal 3 of our strategic plan.
Has this got bathroom pictures
No, sir. Thank you. Goal 3, of course, is focused on operational excellence, and there are, just to give you a kind of a review, there are 3 objectives under Goal 3, and tonight my teammate and I are going to highlight Objective 1 and 3. You may recall last year our teammate, Ms. Richard, presented with us, and she focused on goal objective 2, which focused on internal and external communication. So strategic goal 3, of course, there's our objective 1, which highlights that all campuses and departments will follow clearly defined, aligned, and communicated processes and procedures that support our district's mission, vision, and values. The third objective under this goal is stated there, where we'll use continuous improvement tools to increase our effectiveness and our efficiency with our processes and procedures. So just to highlight some of the things that the district has undertaken, particularly under the operations department. As you know, back in the month of December of this past year, I presented to you the bond update, and that the bond, the 2014 bond, was complete. And so as we strive for continuous improvement and maintenance of our facilities so that we can really meet the demands of our students, our constituents, our parents, to update our facilities to enhance our unique programs, a couple of things we've undertaken this year. One being an internal review of our previous 2014 facility study. If you recall, before the bond, Huckabee did a facility study for our district. And so last fall, we brought together stakeholders from across the district, our maintenance department, our technology department, representatives from the plaza, several others, our business and finance folks, and really went back to that facility study, reviewed it, the things that we had accomplished through the bond, things we didn't get a chance to do because of budgetary constraints, and really started putting together kind of some priority list in which we'll be using to work as we manage our facilities and do some additional requests for upgrades. In the next few months in the future, we hope to ask another company to come and do another study so that we can look at our district future needs. Of course, so that we can make every space count and really writing success stories one student at a time. We want to ensure that we really take advantage of the facilities that we already have in place to support our growth and our unique programming. And so just to highlight some of the things that we've already undertaken, of course, STEAM Academy at Kennemer Middle Schools, fully operational and working, and students are thriving there. And hopefully on the horizon, and you'll be hearing about that soon, new academies to be open at Byrd and Reed Middle Schools. And we're going to be using our current facilities for those choice programs. We're also wanting to repurpose the former Acton Elementary and the old administrative building. You've probably heard a little bit about that the last month. We've already begun work there to repurpose those buildings. And so we really are trying to take advantage of every space that we have right now. Under our asset and inventory, equipment inventory, one of the things that we've done is really taken a really long, hard look at our replacement cycles of a lot of our equipment, our inventory, making sure that we're being good stewards of our tax dollars. Of course, that includes inventory on all of our furniture, making sure that we have all the assets tagged, et cetera. Our facilities, of course, and as we bring on any additional facilities to the district, we'll have those on our list of properties. And this includes a lot of other things, of course, as we brought on, like the new police vehicles. Those were inventoried, and they're on our books, and other equipment that we have. When we're talking about replacement schedules, we're taking a long, hard look, trying to streamline our replacement schedules for our vehicles. And there are a lot of infrastructure things that we're taking a look at, for instance, building roofs, our HVAC systems, and those kinds of things. And you'll be hearing a little bit more about that in the future. And finally, my portion with the, you can imagine, in a district our size, district-wide, there are a lot of files, student records, staff records, business records that we have to maintain. And last fall, we started putting together an RFP to bring a proposal to you for a data management system that would house that in a digital format. And of course, when we got the price tag, we had to prioritize what was more important, and so we've kind of put that on the back burner, but we're hoping here in the future that we will be able to purchase a system such as this. We have some smaller systems, but this would encompass everything. Because you may say, well, we know we have it because you can get a transcript. We do have some limited, but you can imagine the amount of space that paper takes up. The warehouse is full of it, and so we're wanting to present that too. So those are some highlights on the operations side with Operational Excellence Goal 3. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Ms. Coward.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Smith. Thank you, Ms. Fields, for the introduction. All right, so I am here to talk to you all about strategic goal number 3 as it pertains to technology. And so with that being said, to begin with, I want to just kind of review with you some of the initiatives that we've completed, as well as some of those that we are actually in the process of completing. So with that being said, if you look up at this slide, you'll notice one of the slides that says needs assessment. That might look familiar to you if you were here last school year. So during that time, February 2018, I presented to the board a request for approval to increase our bandwidth from 1 gig to 10 gigs of internet. And I'm pleased to say that project, of course, is 100% complete. And so thanks to your approval, we are doing very well in that regard. So not only have we been able to increase user capabilities, but now we have access to cloud-based programs, online testing, video streaming, digital displays, distance learning.
BYOD, which is bring your own device, so our students can bring their devices again and be able to have that filtered appropriately through our content filter, guest internet access, and more. And so a lot of you may recall that some of those things we kind of had to dial back on because of our limited access, but now our students have exactly what they need, as well as all of our staff members. In addition to that, you all may recall requests for content filtering and firewall upgrade. Of course, once again, both of those were approved, and both of those have been completed at 100%. And because of that, now we have increased visibility into our student internet usage, so we can see exactly what's happening when our students search in the internet, or through the internet, of course. In addition to that, we have increased visibility through our reporting system, so we can pull reports and know exactly what's going on in our environment, and also be able to predict to see where we are, so that as we're planning for the future, we know how much more bandwidth we'll need. In addition to that, we have early detection for viruses and malware. So that, of course, is beneficial to us because we have to be proactive in protecting our environment. So all in all, both of those projects have gone very successfully, and we want to thank you for that. So currently, we are just in completion, I'd say in December 2018, we completed a project for our Skyward Cloud migration. So just so you can kind of understand what Skyward is a system that we use for our student data, as well as our human resources and finance data. So for example, if a student were to look up their grades, that would be through Skyward. It would also, if they were looking for their attendance, or if they were to register for school, that would be through Skyward. So if we're talking about our human resources and our finance side of the house, would be looking at if a staff member was going to check their attendance, or payroll, or budget, or we were going to purchase something, that would all go through our finance side of Skyward. So all in all, we use that system quite a bit. And so the decision was made for us to migrate that data from being hosted locally in our data center to a cloud-based solution. And so if you've heard of other districts and other companies, many of them are moving to a cloud-based solution. That is for protection of our data. It's also for redundancy purposes. So if something were to happen to our data, if we were hosting locally, we could have that extra layer of protection. So we're pleased to say that that's something that we were able to accomplish for our district. We'll be coming back with some of our other very secure, important data as we start to plan out our plans for the future. We'll be looking at other programs and systems that we'd like to move to the cloud as well. So with that being said, we're going to look now at our areas that we have in progress. And so internal audit and network infrastructure. So as you know, I've been in this position, I guess, about 18 months now. And one of my goals that I really want to set out to accomplish is to really understand our technology department and our environment and everything we have. One of the largest areas that we have is our network side and our infrastructure, as well as our systems. So when we're talking about network, we're looking at anything related to our internet, Wi-Fi, things like that. Also, we want to look at our system side of the house, that's the storage and our backup solutions. And so just so you all know, we are doing our own internal audits in our department to kind of see what we have. But in addition to that, we have sought the help of a third-party firm, and they are performing an internal audit for us as well. And so the reason for that is to really get a better perspective and a closer look at the health of our systems, and to make sure that they're all talking to one another appropriately, as well as how they're functioning independently. And so with that being said, as soon as we have all that information and that data back, we're looking to get information from our auditors to understand what better procedures we can put in place, what training we might need, if we need additional cross-training for our staffs, of course, and any recommendations for improvement. And once we take all of that information, we'll be using that to help us to create a comprehensive technology plan. So that's our next bullet that you might see. We're looking at a 5-year technology plan that we are needing to create for the district.
With that being said, it's not just the network and system side of the house, but we're also looking at a plan for instructional technology, a plan for our audio and visual equipment, a plan for our laptops and desktops and labs across the district. It's important that we know as a district what we have and how to maintain that equipment and how to replace it as it's needed and how to financially plan for that. And so with that being said, the goal is by spring 2020 to have a complete, comprehensive technology plan to offer you all for review. And so we're excited about that. I think that's something that it's very much so needed. Next, we have our storage and backup upgrade. That's another really important area that I want to share with you all. And actually, I'll be coming back in the next couple of months to provide you all with more details on that. But just to get started, to let you know what we have, we talked about our servers and our backup solution. If you've ever gone to our technology building, you'll see that we have a data center there, and that's where we store many of our servers. Many of those servers are actually near end of life and near end of warranty. And so we're working on a plan to address that need as quickly as we can. We've actually been working on that for about a year and making sure that we get all the data we need, design a good plan that we will introduce to you all that's done well with fidelity. And so just look for us in a couple of months to be able to present that plan to you. All righty. So next on our list, we have our district reservations and calendars platform. So as we strive to use continuous improvement tools to increase effectiveness of processes in our district, I do want to bring to your attention the fact that at one point the district was in need of a unified platform for addressing housing and management of our requests for scheduling district-wide. So we needed a way to be able to schedule rooms all across the district. And so I'm pleased to say that that need's been addressed with a system called Eduphoria. And so the system allows all departments and campuses the ability to schedule reservations at desired locations, as well as approve reservations for facilities, that they manage. In addition to that, we also have the ability to schedule resources. So if a technical support team is needed, they can request that through Eduphoria. If heating and air is needed, they can request that as well, custodial support, and more. So just know that through Eduphoria, we have been able to meet many of those needs, as well as increase communication and collaboration district-wide. All right. So moving on, I want to talk to you all about our technology asset and life cycle management. And so, as I mentioned before, we're looking to create that 5-year technology plan. As a part of that, if you were here during the 2014 school year when we had the bond, you might recall that we developed a standardized classroom. So if you were to go into any classroom here in the district right now, you would see a standard projector, you would see classroom audio, you would also see a document camera. If y'all remember the old overhead projectors with the vis-a-vis markers, the document cameras actually replaced those. And teachers actually have standard laptops as well. And so that's one of the things that we were so proud of introducing during that time period is a classroom standard, and that's something that we're going to continue to do. But something that's really needed is, at this point, is to adhere to a consistent life cycle replacement for our technology assets. So as you all know, when I'm coming to you at different times, we want to make sure that we're not coming to you at the last minute when something's just not working. We want to make sure that we know plenty of time to be able to let you all know, and we can provide the funding for that. So as we work through that, we are currently investigating, of course, everything that we need to ensure that we can have that life cycle plan put in place. One of the tools that we're using in our department is something called TibWeb IT. TibWeb is an auditing system. It's an online management system.
And that system allows us to be able to go, almost like Ms. Fields mentioned earlier, our technicians will go to campuses and to departments, and they'll barcode scan our technology equipment. And so what I always tell them is make sure the digital matches the physical. So if it's in our system digitally, it needs to be in our departments and in our locations physically. And so we are doing that inventory, a full audit in April. And as that's completed, we'll use that data to help us with our plan as well. In addition to that, we've solicited help from some of our vendors to provide us with information. And at the end of the day, we're looking to determine really what our devices' current ages are, what's the remaining lifespan, what's our warranty like, what's the priority level, so what needs to be replaced first. We're looking at how to decommission our technology equipment that's not in use anymore. Will we consign it? Will we repurpose it? Will we salvage it? Those kind of things. And so as we work through those processes, we'll be working together with our teams to address all of those needs. And so as we work through our technology plan, we'll be asking for stakeholders to help us with that. We'll have a committee, as we've done in the past, to assist us with that process. We'll also make sure that we're including our strategic plan and TEA recommendations, as well as all the different our board policies to make sure that we have a comprehensive plan. All right. And so lastly, at this time, we'd like to share with you all a video that demonstrates the hard work and dedication of our technology team as well as our operations team. So we hope you guys enjoy.
So this is the end of our presentation, and so Ms. Fields and I would love to entertain any questions that you all may have at this time.
I'm sure glad that you understand all that.
Both of you, thank you for your information. It represents an area that's behind the scenes that you don't think about all the time, but you make it go, and that's what's important. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We now move to information agenda item B, Choice Schools, Byrd and Reed, presented by Kathy Sewell.
Okay, thank you, Madam President, Dr. Smith, members of the Board of Trustees. I want to thank you for the opportunity to be before you this evening, just to give you a little update on our choice program so you'll know where we're going and where we're heading. And I think we're going to be loading that up here in just a second. There it is. Okay, so what we're looking at here for our choice programs, our first item that we always want to consider is what are our goals. And the goal for choice programs is to focus on student success. And we really want to look at a post-secondary focus for these programs because they're going to be offering our students more choices in a variety of areas and expand sort of that choice ideology to our other middle schools. So as you can see here, the choice programs are going to be designed to meet the needs of all learners. It's not an exclusive program. It's a program of choice where students can apply to the programs, and then we have a lottery system to be able to be fair in our treatment of who gets selected and who doesn't. And so that's exactly what the district did last year with the STEAM Academy, so we're going to follow along with that same philosophy and make sure that choice is available for those who apply, not for one certain segment of our student population. We are looking at specific pathways, and those pathways are designed to match up with our graduation plan endorsements, that students will move through our system and be able to be in those endorsements if they choose those when they get to Duncanville High School. So that's very exciting. So as you know, we have begun the STEAM Academy at Kenmore Middle School. Sixth graders are all there, and they're doing a great job and thriving very, very well in the program. And so for next year, we're looking at the health science program at Byrd Middle School, and we will have the business and technology program at Reed Middle School. And so our learning environments will be comprised of elective classes for our students to focus on those two areas in Project Lead the Way classes, as well as CTE high school credit classes in those respective areas. And here's some just samples of what the classrooms will look like. We're looking at flexible seating, collaborative spaces for students to work together, and makerspace where students can use technology or no technology to create, build, solve problems, and really use their imagination as we want students to be able to do. Our industry partners and industry and in general, they also want students to be able to work in teams, to be able to collaborate, to be able to use creativity, communication, and imagination to excel. So these opportunities at our middle schools will allow for students to experience that and engage with their peers. And the benefits are here where students will be able to earn high school credits. They'll be exposed to college and career opportunities through speakers, field trips, student organizations. As you all saw, Dr. Smith highlighted some of those competitions and organizations earlier this evening. And our students will be able to participate in those and compete in the state and hopefully farther on because we have really smart students. We're also going to have industry speakers, and students are really going to be together based upon their like interests, and they're also going to have lots of opportunities for leadership. So we're very excited about that. Lastly, at the bottom, we will be highlighting TSI prep and exposure to the SAT and ACT for our students so that they have a specific understanding of what those college entrance requirements are. And this is a great slide that has all of our partnerships And as you can see, there's Project Lead the Way, which is a collaborative STEM program for students to be able to have problem-based learning. We've got our community partners that are our universities and our community colleges. And as you can see, some of the competitive CTE groups are there in terms of competitions, and our partnerships with summer and extended programs. They've just got partnerships everywhere. And so a lot of what we have at STEAM, we're going to transfer over to the other middle school choice programs to spread out those opportunities in those elective classes for students. And one thing I would like to do while we're looking at all these partnerships is really commend and recognize Dr. Crystal Rentz, who's here in our audience this evening, and Ms. Shalante Payne. I think they're back here. Y'all will wave to our board members and compliment them. They have worked tirelessly to connect our students to careers and a college, and this work shows that through our choice program. And all of these partnerships, I mean, these ladies have been out rocking and rolling with, connecting all of our kids to these great, fabulous opportunities that a lot of students don't get in other middle schools. So this is very exciting. So the application process, as you all know, last year, 5th grade applied for STEAM. That's going to be the same situation. And then our 6th graders, we've already had assemblies for them to be aware of the 2 choice programs at Reed and Byrd. And that process right now has begun. Our application window is noted up there. I've already reviewed the lottery with the 3 middle school choice programs. And notification will be March 29th. Parents will have until April 5th. And then we will fill open seats with wait lists if we have a wait list that is created, depending upon the number of applications that come in during that time. Also, before I conclude, I would also like to recognize our 3 middle school principals are here with us this evening. In addition to Dr. Rentz, they have been working with her and the team to make decisions on spacing and classrooms and what things are going to look like at their respective schools. We've been meeting with Mr. Nix and Ms. Brown. It has been a true collaborative effort to expand these offerings because students need it. They're going to be very excited about having these choices, and I'm very proud and happy to be part of that. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
You said ACT and SAT, and then you said, what was it?
TSI,
Man, you're going to have to give me a dictionary. I can give you some initials, but I'd probably get in trouble. So what is TSI?
The TSI is a aptitude test for math, reading, and writing that is used primarily by our community colleges. And so it does the same thing as ACT and SAT. It's just a different format.
Okay. You said that junior high kids could earn high school credits. How many high school credits can they come out of junior high with?
Up to 3.5 as part of this choice program. So Project Lead the Way is half a credit, and then the students will be in Algebra 1, which is already offered, and then the 2 CTE high school credits.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Let's see if I've got this straight. If I'm a 6th grade current student in Kennemer, and I chose and was accepted to go because I wanted to go the science route because I want to be a doctor, and then I hear about the Byrd and the health sciences, as a 7th grader, I mean, do I have a choice to go to Byrd, to switch from Kennemer to Byrd, or must I stay at Kennemer?
Okay, that is a great question, and we have been discussing that. So the students who've been accepted to STEAM are in STEAM as 6th graders. The application will be an open process, so if they change their minds and elect to do that, we have a wait list at STEAM. So we can also move some students off the wait list that would be interested in STEAM. We could look at that if some students want to move out to Byrd or to Reed for those respective programs. So we don't know yet because the application's still open, so it's a big question mark.
And the students who do move around out of their current or real boundary, their parents have to provide that transportation?
That's another great question, and actually, Dr. Rentz is working with the Transportation Department. They've got they've met verbally and talked about how the routes would work with kids being, delivered to their schools and then maybe routed over. But no, they won't have to provide their own transportation. Okay. That'll still be part of the district. However, the bus routes are organized. I know there's a 2-mile thing that I don't want to really speak about because I'm out of my lane. But yes, ma'am, we're going to work on that for all of our students.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Yes, sir.
Question I have is, or a couple questions I have is, one, they'll enter, is there going to be a limited number of kids accepted? And are they going to start with 7th graders this year and then move up and add another group next year?
Yes, we are starting with the 7th grade class, and then 7th grade will move up to 8th grade, and then we'll bring in another 7th grade. So there'll be choice options for 7th graders this year, and then we'll expand that in 8th grade when they move up to 8th grade.
So how many kids will be accepted into that program?
We're looking at the potential of 100 per program. And so some of the students that are already going to Reed may want to be in the business and technology choice program at Reed, which is awesome. And so Dr. Rentz has a spreadsheet that is like a dashboard that shows where each student wants to go, where their home campus would be, and we'll be able to look at those whenever the lottery takes place.
Well, if you do that, does that mean that a 7th grader next year as an 8th grader could be in one of those schools?
A 6th grader,
You said the kids at Reed could make a choice.
pardon me, okay, if they're going to Reed from their 6th grade intermediate campus, they're already zoned to go to Reed as their regular middle school campus. So as a 6th grader going into 7th grade, if they're already zoned to go to Reed, they may want to apply for that choice program.
I get that, but if they're a 7th grader already at Reed, can they apply to the program as an 8th grader? They'll be going into the 8th grade.
Correct.
You said that kids in those schools could select one of those programs if they choose to, but the only way they could select it would be going into the 8th grade. If you're starting with 7th grade, then how would they be able to fit into that?
They won't. So your clarifying question is correct. There will be 6th graders going into 7th grade, and when I said 7th grade, I was really meaning the anticipated 7th grade for next year. Yes, sir. Thanks for clarifying that.
The other question I have is, are they going to have special places on those campus for those kids, and will they be in that place, and will they get their gen ed courses in that same group, or will they go around the building in their regular classes?
They will be in their elective classes together for the choice program. The other classes will be as they're in the master schedule, so they will be grouped in those elective classes for Project Lead the Way and then the CTE courses.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All
Thank you
right.
very much for your report.
Yes, thank you all. I appreciate the time.
We now move to information agenda item C, policy updates, presented by Joe Copeland and Andrea Phillips.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Smith. I'm here to share with you localized policy update 112. There are 14 local policy updates recommended by TASB. In your board book are the executive summary on page 148, the explanatory notes on page 149, instruction sheet on page 159. All of those list the updated policies. The vantage points are on page 161, and this is the board member standard guide to all the updates. And the local policy comparison packet on page 168. This provides the comparisons to our current local policies and the 14 individual policies that are recommended modifications by TASB. I also want to bring to your attention the administration's recommended additions to CH Local on page 174 and CV Local on page 179. This is the first reading for your information. I will return next month for a final reading, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Do we have any questions? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
When TASB sends these packets, everything that's legal would be in our policies. Is that correct? But the local is what we as a board.
That's correct.
But do they send the local to every school board?
For each district, yes,
And
ma'am.
if they need it, they take what they need? Or was this customized for Duncanville ISD?
I believe it's customized for us. Some portions of it, no, it may not be customized. I'm sorry, you are the voting power on customizing whatever the local policies
Okay,
are.
it's just out there.
They just have
Have it or
recommendations.
if we want it.
Say it again, I'm sorry.
It's out the local part, the legal we have to have.
Yes, you
But
legally
The
have to.
local part they give to us is that we use it if we already have it, and if we don't have it, we can use.
You can use their recommendations or update as you need to. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Copeland.
You're welcome.
Now, Ms. Fields.
Bring the mic down this time. As Mr. Copeland has already shared with you, you do have a copy of the information item for DHE local, and I would entertain any questions that you may have about it. If you've not had an opportunity, this deals with safety-sensitive positions that we want to add to our policy.
Is that 174, what page?
210.
210.
What if some of us don't have page 174?
Okay, that's required by federal law.
Yes, ma'am, and we're asking for, in addition to that policy, that will be localized, if approved by you next time, to add safety-sensitive positions. We have some in the summary of the type of positions, and of course, this is in line with our operational excellence, supported by all the directors in the operations department, along with risk management and human resources.
I know this has to do with employees, but along the safety lines, do we have any future plans for drug dogs?
Yes, we do.
We
do.
have in plans.
Yes,
Okay.
since we've brought Chief on, I've had a conversation with her, and she's working with her networks to try to get that back in place here.
For
in Duncanville.
students. Well, I guess whoever they would smell out. Whatever.
Any questions?
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will now move into closed session, and this is abnormal for us. We usually do everything at the first, and it's going to be a long one. So those of you that can leave, feel free to, but I'm sorry about the rest of you that probably have to stay. We'll now move into closed session. I call this meeting of the Duncanville Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551.
Those are 3 students. I need to give you another.
We now move to communications from citizens.
No, they
Thank-
ordered pizza and left.
Thank you for coming to this meeting and staying. Being that there are no further items to discuss, this meeting is adjourned.